Hello everyone, this is The Question, and I'm back with my reading log for the month of June. This month, the theme was Pride Month, so all the books that I read were either some sort of LGBTQ plus series or autobiographies, and then also some BL and Yuri series. And this was a really great month because there was not a single volume or book that I read that I didn't like. Everything was at least decent to fantastic, so a really solid month of reads. So let's get right into it. Okay, so starting off, we have all 6 volumes of Classmates that are currently out. This is a BL series that has been running since 2006 in Japan, with each volume focusing on another point in time in the two characters' relationship. The first 3 kind of focus on when they're in high school. The 4th volume is a spin-off with focusing on an inappropriate teacher character. And then the 5th volume, more short stories with all the characters. And then the 6th volume, we kind of go back to more of a focus on the 2 leads after graduation. If you haven't seen any manga by Asumiko Nakamura before, the first thing you're going to notice when you read this or when you look at the art is just the very stylized art style that stands out from your standard manga that you would see, as you can see here by this volume 6 cover. The leads in this book are very gorgeously drawn. This is very well written. The 2 characters, it feels like a real relationship, sometimes in a BL series or Yuri series for that matter. The characters, it feels very, heavily dramatized. It doesn't feel kind of like a real relationship, and this definitely does. These are easily 2 of my favorite leads in any BL I've ever read. The main complaints that I've seen about this series is that, especially in the first few volumes, that there's not a lot of forward progression. It more slice of life than romance, but I enjoyed the slow pace. I enjoy slice of life, and it definitely picks up as the series goes on. Like I mentioned, I think the only real issue that I see people have, or that I can see about this series, is there is, like I said, an inappropriate teacher character, who at least in this series is called out for their inappropriateness a lot of the time, but they are heavily featured in one of the volumes of this, so I've seen some people skip that volume. I didn't skip it. I mean, I'm able to separate. I mean, I've seen lots of movies where there's despicable characters and I can still enjoy the movie, so it didn't, it's definitely probably my least favorite volume, just because I didn't find the character as interesting as our 2 leads, so having a focus on them on him instead of the 2 leads was kind of disappointing. But overall, fantastic series. I love this creator's artwork. I have some other series by her and looking forward to getting into those also. So next up, I read through an ongoing autobiographical series from Kabi Nagata, with the through line in all of them being her severe mental illness. So starting off, we have my lesbian experience with loneliness. This first volume focuses on her, that even though she is an adult, she has never been in a relationship. She's never kissed anybody. And so she wants to feel, touch. So she goes to a lesbian brothel, and it details how hard it is for her with her lack of social skills. So that's his first volume. Next, we have 2 volumes of My Solo Exchange Diary. These more focus on her moving out of her parents' home. So even though she's 28, this is her first time living on her own. And so her depression and not being able to function as an adult make this transition difficult, and she has a hard time focusing on her work and creating manga. So that's kind of the focus of these next 2 volumes. That's these 2. Then we move on to My Alcoholic Escape from Reality. This one shows her spiraling further as her alcoholism causes her organs to start heading down, and she ends up in a hospital. And then lastly, we have My Wandering Warrior Existence. And then this one, it shows her attending a friend's wedding and then deciding she wants one of her own, even though she still has no dating experience and her social skills are not improving. And my 2 favorites out of this series was My Alcoholic Escape from Reality. and then also my lesbian experience with loneliness, which was the first one. These ones felt more focused. I feel like some of the other ones, they're a little spread thin. It kind of feels like she needed to come up with a story to, you know, make another manga volume out of, and so they're not quite as focused as these ones. And I found these very informative. I don't relate to this character in the slightest, like nothing about what she has going on I can relate to, but it's still very informative, just to see how another human being, how difficult their life is and the stuff that she has to go through. I found it, you know, very interesting to read. I just wish throughout it was kind of, you know, it definitely could have been tightened up and maybe been put into 2 or 3 volumes instead of spread out into these 5. But overall, really great read. If you're having the same issues as this creator, I think you're going to get so much more out of this than just an average person is, but still well worth reading. Next up, we have a short music Yuri manga called Hello Melancholic. This is about a shy first-year high school student who gets pulled into joining a music club by a very outgoing second-year student who helps get her out of her comfort zone. So this one is just not too much to say about it. It's just a very wholesome, cute Yuri series. The art is great. It's got a well-written cast of characters. It's just not gonna blow you away. If you're looking for a cute romance Yuri series and you've read a lot of them, I definitely recommend this one. It's gonna hit, you know, it's a very solid series, but it just wasn't anything more than kind of a standard Yuri romance series. Next up, we have The Heart of Thomas and these really nice Fantagraphics hardcovers. So this one is a classic 70s BL manga by Moto Hagio. This is actually the last Moto Hagio I have in my collection to read. So I kind of left it. This is probably her most popular one, and I left this for the very last. So it takes place in a German all-boys school where one of the students has committed suicide due to unrequited romantic feelings towards another student. And shortly after, a new student arrives who looks exactly like the boy who committed suicide. So, and that throws the whole school into chaos. They're trying to see if this is actually a relative or if this is the actual kid coming back. But yeah, just amazing Moto Hagio artwork, great storytelling. It's a very epic story with a ton of detail, great characters. She is a master at kind of making you feel a part of this place wherever she's, like in this one, in this German all-boys school. A very good sense of place. This is not my favorite Moto Hagio. I have a few that I enjoyed more than this one, but still top tier manga work and highly recommended for anybody who's looking into any type of manga that's not just the kind of popular manga that's out today. Definitely give Moto Hagio a shot. Next up, we have Monotone Blue with story and art by Nagabe. This is a BL high school romance with an anthropomorphic cat getting romantic feelings and friendship with the new lizard student in his class. The only other thing I've read by Nagabe was Love on the Other Side, and it was pretty gross and problematic. So I didn't know how I was going to feel about this one. Obviously, The Girl from the Other Side is kind of the creator's big release, and I've been waiting until all the hardcovers are finished before I check that one out. But this is just a one shot. Hadn't heard anything about it, and this one was really cute. The art was beautiful. That's kind of what Nagabe is known for, and the friendship, which grows into romance, was really well done. Just overall, a really great one shot. Very wholesome and cute. Really enjoyable, and this kind of has me more excited to read through The Girl from the Other Side. Next up, we have another short 3-volume series, and that is Last Gender, Where We Are Nameless. This is like I said, a short 3-volume series about a bar in Japan where people are allowed to be their true self, and people of all different genders and sexual orientations gather. So I found this series and to be very informative. The art is really good. The art is really nice. But I wish, my main complaint about this, I wish the dialogue was a little more organic. The characters spend a lot of time explaining their gender or sexual orientation to each other. So a lot of it, when they're talking to each other, it almost sounds like they're giving each other TED Talks instead of having normal conversations. There's a scene where a character who likes to dress like a woman is explaining to their wife about about their feelings. And instead of just focusing on their feeling, they just start explaining like all the different genders there are and all these different things that are not relevant to the wife that he's explaining to. So, definitely feels a little more explanatory than I feel like it should be. I think if the series had gone on longer, there you would get less of that. But overall, a good read, very dark. So this is not a wholesome read. This is a very dark read. But if you're looking for a more adult story in the LGBTQ genre, definitely check this one out. Next up, we have one of the best things I read, and that was Run Away With Me Girl Volumes 1 through 3. I had previously read Volume 1, but I reread it for this. And this is a Yuri series about two women who dated in high school, but broke up after graduation, and now they run into each other 10 years later with one of them pregnant and about to be married. So the art on these covers is what sold me on this, is what made me grab this series. And inside, the artwork is equally as beautiful. These are some of the best covers I've ever seen. This artist is on my list of creators that I will blindly buy anything by them that gets released in English. I think this is the only thing that's been released in English by them. But really great artwork. I love how messy their relationship is compared to your standard Yuri series. It's usually the focus of most Yuri series that I've read is just, are they going to get together type thing. It's just kind of more high school. This is a more adult story. It's very messy. The side characters are messy, but you still root for them. You want them to be happy together. And this is easily in my top 5 favorite Yuri series I've ever read. Okay, so next up I read through all 3 volumes of That Blue Sky Feeling. This is a early BL series by the creator of I Think Our Son Is Gay. And it follows an outgoing, talkative transfer student who tries to befriend the loner kid at his new high school, who all the other students avoid because they think he is gay. So instead of being put off by that, he ends up more interested in pursuing a friendship and learning about him and, if he actually is gay or not. So I saw a lot of mixed reviews of this series, and most of them mention there is an adult character in this story who previously dated one of the students. Nothing's shown, it's just kind of mentioned in passing that they used to date. And this character continues to pop up throughout the story as a mentor character throughout it. So if this series was darker, or more adult, I probably would have been more bothered by it. But it's a very light and wholesome series, so while I wish that character was cut or kind of taken out of it, obviously the creator wanted to include that. And it's just kind of mentioned, like I said, it's kind of mentioned in passing. They are kind of a side character that pops up throughout the story, but they're mainly just as a mentor to all the different characters. There's nothing inappropriate that goes on in this series that you see. So if that's going to bother you, if that's something that's going to make you not want to read this, then definitely don't read this. It did knock my enjoyment down a peg from how I probably would have felt about it if that character wasn't in it. But I still enjoyed it. It's still a very wholesome, cute series, kind of about high school friendship and learning about someone who's different than you. So I would recommend it for that, but just know if that's something that's going to bother you, then you're probably not going to want to check this out. Next up, we have a Volume 1. This is Volume 1 of Barbaritis. This is a 4-volume comedic BL series, kind of set in Renaissance Europe. It follows a dashing nobleman who is assigned to protect a lord and ends up falling for the lord's nephew, who is unreceptive to his advances and more focused on rooting out crime and corruption. Like I said, this is a 4-volume series. I only have Volume 1. This was a blind pickup from Barnes & Noble a few months ago. I just saw it on the shelf, thought, okay, I'll give this one a shot. And I will definitely be picking up more. This was really funny, really entertaining. The art is great. The opposites attract relationship between the two main characters is cute. It provides some funny moments. I'm going to try to, this is kind of adult, so I'm going to try to turn it to some pages just so you can see the artwork. But yeah, just a really cute story. Looking forward to checking it, seeing where it goes. I think the 4th volume comes out sometime early next year, but I think the first 3 volumes are out now. And the last 3 are all autobiographical manga. So I'm going to start with the one I enjoyed the most, and that is a new Tokyo Pop one shot, and that is Why I Adopted My Husband. This is a manga memoir following a couple who, due to Japan not allowing gay marriage, use the adoption system as a loophole, which is used as kind of a substitute by gay couples so they can have legal rights in case of a medical emergency, or if one passes away, they can get rights that would normally go to their family. So very informative, very sad, kind of showing the hurdles couples in Japan have to deal with just being able to live their life together. But the two characters are drawn very cute. Like I said, very informative. I really enjoyed this one. Real good story. Some autobiographical, can be a little explanatory. This one I found a good combination of informative and comedy, and just really enjoyable. Next up, we have a new Viz series. This is Until I Love Myself, The Journey of a Non-Binary Manga Artist. This is a short 2-volume series. Not sure why Viz didn't just release this as an all-in-one. I feel like it kind of would have read better, but this was split into 2 separate volumes. Great art on this cover. And this is the true story about a non-binary manga artist who is sexually harassed and mentally abused while working as an assistant for a famous manga creator. 7 years later, they decide to tell their story and come to terms with what happened to them. So the artist does a great job in this with the panels showing exactly how they feel in specific moments and letting you see the rage and kind of anger that they're feeling in different situations. So that is a really good, the way this is drawn is really good at making you feel exactly how they're feeling. So really looking forward to the second volume. But yeah, like I said, I kind of wish it's not a super thick release, so I definitely feel like having it be an all-in-one would have been a better way to read through this. But yeah, still highly recommended. And then lastly, we have another Tokyo Pop one-shot. This is At 30, I Realized I Had No Gender: Life Lessons from a 50-Year-Old After 2 Decades of Self-Discovery. So this one has a lighter, more comedic feel. It follows, like it says, a 50-year-old creator and their 2 decades of living in between genders. This one is almost more of an advice column, with them also answering questions from readers, trying to provide advice instead of telling an interesting story. This is probably my least favorite of everything I read this month. I mean, it's not bad, it's fine, but just, probably my least favorite. The majority of the discussions are very superficial. It's more focused on looks instead of anything of substance. So there are a lot of pages where it's just them complaining about wrinkles, how their hair is thinning, constant references to them being fat, even though it mentions in there that they only weigh 115 pounds. So there's lots of panels where it shows them and they're like, I have a dad bod. It's like, how do you have a dad bod and you weigh 115 pounds? So that's a little ridiculous, but a lot of it is just kind of standard old person complaining about how their body is aging, unrelated to their gender. So I had some interesting info, but overall I was kind of bored by it and had to force myself to finish it. Okay, so that is it. That's my video, everything I read for the month of June. I will have some more videos up in July. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments any of your thoughts about anything I read this month or anything you recommend for me to read. But otherwise, everybody have a great July, and I will see you in the next video.